up, everybody? Welcome back to Pro Publications YouTube channel. It's always me, Rich. And I recently asked people for a Q&A, and I got some questions, so I'm going to go ahead and answer them very, very quickly. One thing I do want to mention is that the Sunday Night Bomber giveaway is still going on. If you guys are interested, go ahead and check out that video, or just leave a comment in this video saying you would like a copy. So with that being said, let's get into the questions. What are you doing next? Well, I'm going to the San Francisco Zine Fest September 1st. That's going to be this Sunday coming up. I am amped for it. I have 2 new zines that I will be debuting there. And that's just in a nutshell. In a larger scale, that would be a longer video, probably coming up in one of the Anarchist Zinester art vlog updates. What is the best way to punch a fascist? Uppercut, quick jabs, double axe handle, all of the above. As long as you inflict pain on the fascist, that's the proper way of doing it. When you don't necessarily hurt them, it's probably not a good punch. I'd love to know more about life with all the animals. Like, did you adopt them all? So the animals, all my little furry friends, most of them are rescues. Most of them were taken from abusive households and things like that. Evie, I found her on the street. Lucky, my wife found him in the streets. Meow, we took him from a house, an abusive household. We took him. It was a neighbor of ours. We took him because they were harming him. Eek was a rescue from the shelter. Tiggy was a cat that was abandoned by her household. They just threw her out, and we took her in. And Batman was a rescue from the shelter, and Stewie as well was a rescue from the shelter. A lot of them were just cats that we were fostering, and then we just ended up really getting along with them. We kept them. That's why we don't foster anymore, because before long it'll be a household full of animals and then just 2 humans. What elements make you really dig a zine? I think the ingenuity of it. Sometimes, like, I'll see things that, like the Q shirts with conceptually strong concepts. I really dig that. I really dig when people make it themselves. Like, I understand sometimes people want to send things to get better print quality and things like that. But for me, I always genuinely enjoy when people make it themselves. When they sew them together, or when they staple it very differently and things like that. When they fold them very differently, just I guess I really do feel that zines kind of attain the personality of the zine maker, and so it's one of those things of, like, the more hands-on you are with making your zine, the more of your personality, I feel, comes out in the zine, and so that, I think, is more authentic, and I guess authenticity is the main thing that I really look for in a zine. What shit do you like to read outside of zines? Truth is, I read a lot of radical shit, man. Like radical acts of random acts of terror, La Revolución de Nicaragua, right? Occupied America. What else do I got out here? Chomsky on anarchism. Ricardo Flores Magón reader. Murray Bookchin. What is it? Anarchism, Marxism, and the Future of the Left. So I read a lot of radical shit. That's just what I read a lot of. But I read a lot of nonfiction as well, as far as, like, historical things. Like, here goes a good one that I got called The Middle Ground. It's kind of dispelling some of the myths of, like, natives and whites didn't get along at all. And it's very, very interesting, the idea of, like, predominantly natives and whites kind of coexisted very peacefully. You know what I mean? As far as, like, everyday natives and migrants from Europe, not necessarily as far as, like, the government structure, which is always what I always say. I feel like people are always going to be people, and they're always going to get along. I feel like governments propel people to hate each other, and that's a whole different topic for another day. But yeah, I read a lot of history and a lot of, like, revolutionary theory. And then last question is, when and how did you first discover zines? Well, I remember there used to be a magazine called Hit Parader, and I remember there was some pictures with people with zines, and then it really briefly talked about what zines were, and I was like, oh shit, that sounds cool. And then later on, I made a zine, which was the first tactile zine I had in my hand was the one I made, which was called Stupid No Talent Production Comics Presents Stupid No Talent Comics, and it was just comics, stupid comic stories, really, things that, I mean, there's some issues out there, because Meltdown Comics, which doesn't exist anymore, which shows my age, but Meltdown Comics, which doesn't exist anymore, carried my zine, and they sold them, issue 1 and 2, I only made 2 issues, they sold them, And I was a kid, and they gave me store credit. So then I gave them the zines, and they gave me store credit to get comics. Um, so some people out there might still have them, or they might have just thrown them away. Who knows? It'd be really interesting. If you have a copy of that, I'm that guy. So go ahead and shoot it back. But that's how I discovered zines. And then as I got older and I started joining different revolutionary groups and things like that, I started seeing more and more zines and pamphlets and things like that. And then when I was in jail too, there was a very strange subculture of jail of like handwritten zines that people would just continuously add more pages to. And then the way they stapled them was different. It was weird. Like, so then they would do like one page folded, and then they would staple it to the next page, to the next page. So it kind of was like very straight, and it was kind of going like that. And then people would trade them. So then people would be working on their autobiographies. Some people were working on just fictional stories and things like that. And that's really when I fell in love with zines, was when I was in jail, and I spent that time and we were just trading them. That was kind of when I really was like, I was making zines all the time. A lot of them were just essays, and a lot of them were just comics. Like I did a comic when I was in jail that I should probably relaunch. It was called Punch Drunk Zen, and it was this crazy story about every dojo has like their main fighter, and it was kind of like a Street Fighter story saga. But yeah, so that was that in a nutshell. So alright guys, that was the Q&A. It was very fun. I love your questions. Go ahead and send me more if you guys have any. Until then,
fight the fascists.
Lights.